Hey YouTube mob, we are back on the 1290 Super Adventure again. There she is. Today's project is going to be putting a spotlight in here, in this funny looking hole thing here. So if you're familiar with the 2122 model, 1290, they've changed the shape of the headlight, and the reason why they've done that is because on the Super Adventure S, which is the more road orientated version, they have in here an adaptive cruise control radar system, which means there's something in here, and I'll put a picture next to this one just so you can have a look. And to me, this is the R, so this is the off-road version. This one looks unfinished in this area because there's nothing in there, right? And KTM hasn't released anything to put in there. I've done some searches on the internet and I can't find anything that anyone's come up with to put in that spot. So my thinking is, why not put like a driving light or a spotlight in there? So I searched around, measured it up. It's approximately 85mm by 85mm square. Obviously you're not going to get something to fit this rooftop shape here. Yeah, anyway, so after a bit of searching around the internet, this is what I came up with. It's a Supernova spotlight. Supernova not sponsored. So we'll get her out of the box and have a look. Alright, so this is what was in the box. Oh my god, no unboxing video. Too bad, suckers. Right, so this is the actual light module. It's pretty hefty in the hand. This was, I think, 75 Aussie dollars delivered. And what we're going to do is we are going to mount it up in here, like this. Now, as you can see, it sticks out a mile. But there is this plastic plate in here, so we're going to have to pull some of this apart and see what's in behind there, how far back we can mount it, because ultimately you want it sitting flush in there, right? Sitting flush like that, but in there, and then we'll have to see if we can work out some sort of trim, maybe to put around it, maybe a white trim or something to match the rest of the headlights around. So that'll be it. The rest of the stuff that comes in the box is just a clamp, stainless steel, nuts and bolts, and of course some wiring there. That's obviously where the clamp goes, and the rest of it is finning for cooling. This one's 30 watts, 30 watt output, and I believe they're 5 watt LEDs, so 25 watts output, and I guess 5 watts for whatever the voltage control system is. But before I start working on the bike, I want to just plug this into the power supply and have a bit of a look at it. Okay, so it's all plugged in. It's doing about 2 amps, 29 watts. Yeah, that works out. I've got it running at 14 volts, so 14 volts, 2 amps, or 2.1 amps. It's about 28, 29 watts. Ooh, that's pumping out there's some heat coming out of that. I wonder how hot that's going to get. What you've got to remember is I'm going to be mounting this in a plastic headlight, so I think what I'm going to do is leave this running for say an hour or so and see how warm this whole body gets. At the moment it's quite cool at the moment. It's certainly pumping some light out, look at that. Woo-wee! That'll clip it. Alright, let's leave that running for a little while, see what happens. Okay, it's been running for about only 10 minutes so far, but what I did do, I went and got a bit of steel and I just sat it up on there because otherwise it was sitting on this insulated surface. Probably going to give us a bit of a false reading. It's gone up a bit, 37, still well within safety margins. As you can see, current hasn't changed. Okay, that's been running for over an hour now. Temperature is stabilised at about 60.5 degrees Celsius. It's warm, but it's certainly not hot. It's not going to melt anything in there, that's for sure. The current's stable at 28 watts. So the rating on the box is definitely true. So that's good. All right. We're going to shut this down. And will we take it apart and have a look? Why not? Okay, I have no idea where I'm going to start with this. There's nothing online, no one's pulled one apart on YouTube or anything like that. I mean, there's a couple of obvious screws here, but I just want to pull it out as easily as possible. Maybe if I can just get this little cover off. I don't know what's down under there. I can see a couple of little screws in there. Yeah, don't know. There's not really a lot of room under. There's a bit of glare from those lights, isn't there? There's not really a lot of room up under there. I don't know how far back I'm going to be able to mount it. All right, I'm just going to pull it apart and see what I find. Whoa! I'm just pulling things off to see what comes loose. I have no idea what I'm doing. We're going to try not to break anything, if we can. Nothing loose yet. Those tiny little torque bits down there. Torques is so hard to work out what size it is, I reckon. Oh, there is indeed. That's it. Out of the way. Let's have a look what's in the hole. We might need some extra illumination. Oh yeah. There's quite a bit of room in there, I reckon. As long as it's going to go past that plastic bracket in there, see that? Bit hard to see, isn't it? Get the light in there. Plenty of room to run cables and put maybe a relay. Plenty of room to mount. It's quite a strong back bracket in there. That's a thick looking bracket. So that's easily going to hold the light. Oh yes, I think this project could work. I'm going to keep pulling it apart, even though I can sort of get in there, but obviously I've got to find some power for it. So I think I'm still going to go and pull the headlight right out. And here's something of interest. The blue section's actually solid blue plastic. I was thinking it was just a sticker, but it's actually all blue. Right, I know this is kind of off track a little bit, but I just wanted to have a look at the fuel cell. Nicely mounted there, very rigid. This thing here doesn't look like it'll come off. I don't know, I might have to pull the bloody crash bar off to put it back together, I reckon. Probably would have been easier to pull the crash bar off. Anyway, I'll have to do that, I reckon, to put it back together. See the back side of the radiator there. Cast frame member by the looks of that. It's pretty interesting. You can certainly see why it handles so much better. Look at the volume of fuel that is held down really low in the tank, quite a lot. This is part of the tank here. Looks like that's an interesting way they've sealed those onto there. I believe, I'm not 100% sure, that the air box is down under here. I'm not going to fiddle around with that today. Too many other things to do. Okay, I've got those four out and the headlight, I think. We're getting close now. What's holding it now? For a workshop manual. It's getting held by the adjuster, by the looks of that. All right, down we go a bit further. Hooray, it's out. Man, oh man. All that was holding it in was the adjuster there. I just had to kind of twist it a little bit so it would pop out through the gap, and out it came. I'm pretty sure you could get that out without pulling all that other stuff off. Maybe just loosen a bit here and there. Whew, what a job. That's a one heavy unit. All right, now we can see what we've got in here, eh? So that bracket down there, that's the one we can mount our driving light to, riding light. There's so much room in here, we'll be able to run some wires. Hopefully I can find some way to get some power off here and run to a switch. Right, there's one super annoying cable tie down in here. And I guess that's out now. Okay, assembly's out. There's a wire. Maybe someone in the comments can tell me. There's a wire that goes down there, into there. Maybe, I know what that must be, temperature sensor. That's what it'll be, temperature sensor. Yeah, it makes sense. Okay, well, almost looks like it was designed to fit in there, doesn't it? So it does fit. I can make it flush. I can have it back a little bit, forward a little bit. I'm probably going to go flush, I think. I think so. And the bracket, oh, look at that. There's even a slot there where the wire can run. So it can go around that way. And then we'll just have to make a bracket up. Maybe we can use the existing bracket, we'll see. Right, yeah, we've encountered our first problem. And that is that it's not quite going to be the perfect fit that I thought, because it is resting up against the plastic in here, which means, I want it to sit symmetrically in here, right? It'll fit up in there, high, but as you can see, I don't think that's very symmetrical. I sort of want it down level like that. And of course, you still got to have some movement to be able to get it in the right position, which is another problem because I don't know how I'm going to set it up. You got to be able to get in here and loosen and tighten those. It's going to be a bit tricky to set it up the first time, I reckon. So anyway, what is stopping it from coming down there is these fins here. So what I'm going to do is whack that in the mill and just chop about 1/2 centimetre off the back there. That's not going to affect the cooling very much at all. Here's our fabric-hobbled bracket. Like I say, just a couple of holes in there. Yes, I know. Just as well, this is only a prototype, which is going to stay in there anyway. The bracket didn't fit over the top of those bolts there, so they had to go in a little bit. Alright, well that's all good. That's done. We can bolt all that up. See how it goes. Right, yeah, there she is, all done. I did end up taking a little bit more out of there because it just wouldn't tip back far enough without it wouldn't tip back far enough without interfering with the plastics that were already there. There's 2 bolts on the bottom that are holding the bracket, and there's a little bracket in there, all nicely rigidly mounted. It's looking good. Oh yeah, now that bracket there, sorry, I can't show every single thing. It's just a piece of 3mm angle iron galvanized with a hole in it, 2 holes in the bottom. It's pretty basic, there's nothing special about that. Right, next step is to pull this thing apart because I want to paint it. Got some paint that's going to match the headlight, so it looks a little bit more, I don't know, like it matches in or whatever. And it'll be interesting to see what's in here. So it's a win-win. Bit of rubber grease or something around there. Lexan plastic there. Oh yeah. Don't know what this screw in the sides for. Let's have a look at that. Okay, that just looks like a vent. Oh yeah, just got a little tiny hole there. Alright, so that's holding the plastic lens on. Now we can see the circuit board in there. But it looks like this circuit board is directly attached to the heatsink, which is good for longevity. And sorry, the whole casing was heating up when I was running it. Looks like some decent sized diodes, big switching MOSFET there. Yeah, it looks well made, very well made. So I think what I'll do, I'll just tape all this up, and be good to get that out. That's not going to come out. That's all epoxy potted in there, those wires, so they're not coming out. So we'll tape it up, we'll sandblast all the paint off, etch prime it, undercoat it, and put the top coat on. This paint is some tough stuff. I've got the paint stripper on it, and it's barely softening. It is a little bit. So I think I have to come up with another plan. I'm going to have to pull the gizzards out. I'm going to have to take this wire out. I'll have to cut out that epoxy resin, pull the whole thing to bits. Otherwise I'm going to end up with half a job here. This is why you double glove. I had to go a bit deeper than I wanted to, so circuit board comes out. There's no thermal paste under there, which is a bit dodgy, so I'll put some back under. Sort of black paint on there, which should be insulating it a bit. We'll clean all that out, we'll put some thermal paste. And yeah, this is epoxied, like I said. I'm going to drill that out to get those wires out of there. Try to save that grommet. Yeah, because that paint is tough stuff, it's not coming off. Yep, got the grommet out in one piece. Dug all the epoxy out of there, so now, yeah, now I can rip right into it with the sandblaster and the paint stripper and get all that off. Right, I'm getting there. I've sandblasted it. Now I'm going back in with another. Coat of the old paint stripper. I'm nearly there. You can see why I couldn't do it with the wires and all that. I just had to get in here everywhere, so it had to come fully to bits. Here we are, having a nice little bath in the wax and grease remover, and then we'll get the etch primer onto it. Undercoat done. All done. This is a switch I've got. I got two switches. I thought, man, which one? So I got it all black, or I got the red one, which has got a bulb in it, so that when it's on, you can see a little light in there. Now I watched. I wasn't sure how to wire all this in, and I know KDM have got their own spotlights. They've got spotlights that mount down in here. So I watched a YouTube channel as a guy, and I'll put the link down in the description. You can watch his YouTube video. He's got a 21 Super Adventurer, same as this, and he pulls all the panels off, all the tank, the whole lot, and he goes through it. Every single nut, bolt, shows you where everything is, where all the wiring is, how to plug it in, the whole kit and caboodle basically. His channel's definitely worth a look. So he said, if you have a look here, it says here in here, drill a 24mm hole, and this is where the actual spotlight switch goes. So from this side here, there'll just be the switch. From this side here, there'll just be the switch that hangs out like that. So we're going to drill the hole with a hole saw through there. We'll mount this in here, and we'll take the power from, this is negative, this is positive, so we'll take the power from here. We'll wire it in through the switch. I've also got a relay. So we've got this little relay here, and what that's going to do is only allow the driving light to come on when the high beams are on. So this is the headlight connector. So I've got to tap into one of these wires here that powers the high beam, and that'll send a signal to the relay to allow the relay to turn on when this button on the side is pushed. And that also eliminates the chance of it draining the battery down when you turn the ignition off, because the relay will simply open. What I might do is I'll draw a simple circuit schematic of what I'm talking about so you can see how to do it. If you want to do this yourself, it's kind of getting bigger than Ben-Hur. But we're getting there, so we'll put this switch in, and then we'll do some wiring. This is just a switch I got from J-Car. It's waterproof. You can see it's got the little bellows, blah, blah, blah. In it goes. We'll get back to you when I've done run some wires. I've got to patch into these two here. Then I'll run them back down through here, under there, bring them out through here, hook up. Okay, so my plans of tying it into the high beam switch, so that the driving light would only come on when I had the high beams on, that is a fail. This is the headlight connector, and I probed around to try to find which one powered the high beam, and it's something to do with this blue one here, but it doesn't have relays. It's obviously electronically switched, and I get some real weird voltages. I get 25 volts there when the headlight's running. 25 volts when it's off, and then when it's on, I think it pulls this blue one to ground. But if I reverse the polarity and test it, it's 12 volts when it's running, and then 0 volts when it's off. There's some really weird, I don't know, electronic stuff going on there. It probably senses whether the headlight's blowing. So to tie a relay into this is a really bad idea. I'll do a little demo about voltage spikes that you can get off relays, and if that's got some electronics attached to it, that's going to fry that. So I've given up on that, and what I'm going to do, this is the plug that goes to the 12 volt outlet up on the handlebars here, and this is switched, so there's only power here when the ignition is on. So I'm going to run the wire for the switch. It'll come from here, it'll go through the switch and then into the relay. And that just means that you can't accidentally leave the driving light on when the ignition's off, basically. And then you can just turn it on and off as you require when you're riding along. But I was kind of hoping to tie it into the headlights so you wouldn't get people accidentally flashing you if you left it on. But that's not going to happen. And I don't know, you need a wiring diagram and maybe a little bit more smarts than I've got to work that out. So I'm going to go safe. I'll just power it off these two main power wires here, and this will be the sense and the switching wire here. This is the setup I've got just to demonstrate the voltage spike. So this is just a normal 12 volt relay, and this is the one we're going to put into the KDM. As you can hear, when I energize it with the 12 volt battery, you can hear that clicking. Now, without a protection diode on here, when that relay opens, there's a voltage spike across the coil, and that could damage the sensitive electronics that are on the KDM. The voltage spike is well over 100 volts, and I'll demonstrate that now. Alright, we'll see if we can get all that in one shot. So we've got the oscilloscope set to single shot, and we've got the trigger point, which is when there's a voltage spike, set to, so from the top to the bottom is 100 volts. Now what I'm going to do, so we've got the trigger point set at about 95 volts. I'll energize the relay. When I de-energize it, you'll see there's our voltage spike. So this is gone. This is where it's energized at 12 volts. I've de-energized it, and it's gone minus. Well, it goes off scale, so at least plus 120 volts into the minus. Now that is going to fry some sensitive electronics on any modern vehicle. This is why you've got to be really careful hooking your relay up to something that's got a lot of electronics in it. So what we can do to mitigate that is we take a diode, and we'll put the diode across the terminals, and it's set up so that it's blocking the flow of positive, but when it goes negative, the voltage spike, instead of going into the oscilloscope, will go back through the diode, and it will simply short itself out. Now we're going to single shot it again. That was a fail. We'll single shot it again. Okay, relay's closed, relay's open, and as you can see, no spike on the screen. That's because the voltage didn't go low enough. So we'll wind the trigger right back up here to about 18 volts, and we'll try again. Yeah, that was a bit of a dodgy one. Alright, there we go. Now you can see where it was at 12 volts and it's dropped down to 0 volts and there's virtually no spike there. It's completely clipped that spike. So we can zoom in on that. And you can see there the tiniest little spike. It's definitely not going to hurt any electronics, and it's as simple as putting one little diode in to stop that happening. So we can see that again. We'll single shot it. We'll take the voltage back down to about 95 volts. We'll take the diode out, trigger it, and there's your plus 100 volt. I've got the time stamp different there. We'll do it again. And yeah, there's our plus 100 volt spike. So, okay, we can demonstrate it another way besides the single shot. So we'll put it onto roll. Alright, now, you've got to be quick, but that's energized, and there you can see the spike. Energized, spike. Minus about 130 volts, I reckon. Okay, now we'll put the diode in to clamp that voltage spike. Energized, and only a tiny little blip there. So perfect. Rightio. Let's begin the reassembly. This whole thing is one big heatsink. So I need my big soldering iron because it just absolutely drinks the heat out of the little one to the point where I can't even get it to solder. Okay, not as pretty as what it was, but functional. Alright, before we put it all together, we're going to give it a test. Okay, I think that's working. That's good. I'm blinded. Right, let's chuck this thing back together. We've got all the paint out of the base now. That's just sandblasted aluminium in there. So I'm going to chuck a little bit of the old heatsink in there. Just help the reliability of it. Not that I'm saying it's unreliable. I don't know. I've never had one of these before. And of course that thermal grease just goes everywhere. Okay, I think that's right. There's enough strain relief there, and I'm going to refill that hole there with epoxy that was full. I was going to leave it sit like that for a few hours, so we'll go and do something else. Yes, it's in. A little bit of swearing and cursing, of course. And look, no more sponsorship. There never was a sponsorship, but just in case you were wondering, you know what I mean? Right, yeah, we're going back together now. Got the headlight support assembly on there. That's going to go to my driving light. That's for the headlight connectors there. This is the wiring setup down here. So we've got the relay here. We've got the switch up here. It's all nice and neat. It'll be all out of the way. Shouldn't be any issues with vibration that I can see. So I'm going to go ahead with the reassembly. I have done a test run. It is working. Will I do a time lapse of the reassembly? I don't know. Do you really need to see it? It's just kind of everything goes back in the opposite direction. I'll just sort of do a little bit every now and then. See down in there, that's the bottom headlight screw. And that's the top one's in there, so the bottom one's pretty hard to get at. So what I've done, I've taken the bottom bolt out. Just lets me tilt the headlight up a little bit, up this way. Then I can get down there and get that bolt in. And I'm just using this little mini ratchet, and that gets me down in there with the Torx on it. So you can do it. You don't have to do this. You can pull all the side fairings and the tank and everything off to get to it. I just want to see whether it's actually possible to do it without taking all that crap off, and it looks like it is. There we go. Tight. Right, so I've made this so you can get to the connector in there, but before I fully bolt everything together and commit, I just want to make sure it's going to work. Okay, I can't hold this and stick it in at the same time. Hang on. All right, it's just sitting there. I'm not giving you the before and after yet. It's all got to be back together. Power it up. Okay, that's your high beam, low beam, and spotlight. Okay, a couple of slight technical adjustments. I had the relay there, remember? I've put it here now because the intake air ducting won't fit. You can't get the side panel on. Plenty of room here. All of these little tabs on the back of the switch had to be bent. So that fits there now, that's fine. Yeah, so all good. Proceed. All right, I'm nearly there. Just got to get the dash back on, headlights around. Couple of bits and pieces. Yeah, it's certainly not the easiest thing to get back together. You've got to work out where all the bits and pieces go. I've still got a pile of screws left. I don't want to see any when I'm finished. None. Mistakes, eh? Look. The catch. This little piece of plastic that holds the dashboard plug to the dashboard. I pushed it a bit too hard and it snapped off, which means now there's nothing to hold the plug in there. Alright, so as you can see, it doesn't lock in there anymore. Absolute pain in the butt. So what I've done, I think this mod will work. I've drilled a tiny little hole in there, and I'm going to screw a screw, and the screw will go down behind the little catch there. So that will go together like that. Then the screw will go in there, easily accessible. And hold it in. It's just a little brass screw. That screws down behind the little catch, like so. And fixed. Easy fix. I hate to think what a new wiring loom or something like that would cost you. Anyway, full disclosure, everyone makes stuff up, say? OMG. Super annoying. I have no idea where that goes. If anyone knows, leave a comment. There we go, guys. What do you reckon? Improvement or not an improvement? Leave your comments below. We'll take it for a run at night and see if we can see how much difference it makes. I don't know, it looks a bit more finished now, I reckon. Yeah, I don't mind it at all.